All right, here we go. That is the freaking stuff right there. So today we are embarking on a new journey. It's gonna be a whole lot of back and a whole lot of not adhering strictly to the plan, because we were originally intending on doing back on Monday. Today's Saturday, so we're kind of just playing it by ear, seeing how our body feels, and then thrashing some back accordingly, because I guess that's what it calls for. But anyways, I checked out the program for, I can't remember the last time I've checked the program pretty far in advance before the workout, because last time I did that, it was, I think, for legs, and I was kind of like getting in my head about it. Like I was just thinking, oh man, like I gotta set up, you know, like the perfect leg day, like which machines am I gonna use, how am I gonna superset this, you know. And so like that's why I'm not a huge advocate of checking the plan super far in advance, and that's just a me thing, honestly. Like some people can rock with that, and then, you know, they don't overthink about it, but I don't know. It depends on the day. It depends on how I'm feeling that day. But anyways, for today, I checked it pretty far in advance, and I saw the first two movements are going to be 8 sets, 9 reps. And there are only 4 movements total, but one of them is for calves. But only 3 movements for back. And I think he pretty much did that on purpose, because he's just trying to hammer away at certain movements that are gonna accentuate my back a little bit more. So like lat pull down, that's gonna be really good for back poses, like a back double bicep. And then he had the wide grip T-bar row, and that one's going to be just good for overall muscle density. But as far as like, you know, the actual posing goes on stage, that would probably kind of fall under the transition part of posing, because when you're actually just getting into a chest supported T-bar row, like all you're really doing is just doing what you would to set up for like a back double bicep or like a rear lat spread or whatever. But anyways, I think the only thing that we have after that is bat wings, which are interesting because they're kind of like a specialty movement. They're mainly meant to like build up the muscles around your armpit, so it's supposed to give like your upper lat area like a very, very full look. So those are interesting because you kind of set them up the same way you'd set up like a cable pullover, but then instead of, you know, doing the actual pullover, it's like you're flaring out your elbows, and then just like bat wings, you're basically like flapping your elbows up and down. And it's good because it's basically like an external rotation, and you can go pretty freaking heavy on it. Honestly, I kind of advise that, like obviously be safe, but for me, like I gotta go, as far as the stack goes, pretty heavy, just to feel anything, because the start of the movement, you're pretty strong. Like any kind of external rotation movement, you just have a lot of muscles working with that. You know, you have like, it's not only like your shoulder, obviously, but it's like your pec, your lat, and then like a ton of other like upper back muscles that kind of contribute to it all. So you have a lot working for you. That's why you can go so heavy and be pretty strong in the movement. But anyways, that's pretty much it for today. The meditations have been going really freaking well. It's interesting because it's kind of like the more and more I coach and, you know, set up all these like content pieces and ad pieces. Like I just recently did like my first ever like VSL, and I made like 2 different versions, like one for contest prep and then one for more like lifestyle transformation. And it's interesting because I was getting into both of them, and the way that I kind of set it up, it was like I had to be very like real on camera. Like there was no script. There was pretty much, I mean, it was like minimal scripting, and that was just for like the athlete spotlights that I had in there, and like things that just kind of needed a lot of detail throughout the VSL. But other than that, it was pretty much just all improv, like pretty much just like this. And it was interesting because like going through the whole process, I noticed like I would come up with ideas just from actually doing the thing. And I think that's like a big part of creativity. It's like you don't really know exactly how everything's going to go unless you just jump right into it and, you know, do your thing. And so I noticed like with a lot of the different things for coaching, like I was, you know, like a big part of how I coach is basically finding out what the individual's interested in and then using that to their advantage to get whatever fitness goal that they have, whether it's on stage or, you know, just regular lifestyle stuff. And I noticed like my big thing is meditation, like on the side of like bodybuilding. And so like in the middle of meditation today, I was like, all right, how can I like a big thing that I was saying like in the VSL prompts was like, how can I basically make this to be like as challenging for the person, but also like expand their creativity. So you kind of like prompt them with different things that would help expand their creativity. Like for example, like one of my athletes like loves to cook, and so you kind of prompt him with like more challenging dishes to cook. And so it's things like that, where like in meditation, it's like, okay, cool, like I sometimes like have anxiety in the middle of those meditations. How can I like prompt myself to be a little more gentle around that anxiety and like fall deeper and deeper into the meditation? And so it was things like that, where it was like the more I coached other people on how to do their thing or just how to expand their creativity, the more my creativity was expanded. And so I don't know, it was just kind of an interesting thing that I noticed. But anyways, that's pretty much it for everything on back and meditation. Let's just stop talking and get into this lift. Alright, so we are in the midst of 8 sets of 9 reps lat pull downs, and we just made it to the last set, and this is freaking gnarly. I'm kind of more treating it not so much as like do an extremely heavy set, rest, do an extremely heavy set, rest. I'm more so doing it like it's almost like a HIIT workout where you go station to station. So I was supersetting this with calves, and now I'm just kind of resting a little bit more with these last few sets, but I'm keeping the weight relatively light, just kind of going back and forth and seeing how it feels. And I think right now, or at least for this back day, this is majorly just about pump and not, you know, putting up as much weight as possible. So we'll have to see how it looks after this, but the Ben & Jerry's and Panda Express definitely helped last night. That nice little refeed meal after, you know, pretty much the entire, well, we've been eating clean for a while now, and so now it's just, you know, getting as much of a refeed in as possible. But anyways, that's for later. Coach actually requested another refeed meal tonight on top of Wednesday as well. So this is going to be interesting. We're definitely pushing the food with all the different peptides in the mix. So let's get this last set and just see how it freaking feels. Yeah, that's good. All right. Yeah, let's go get some T-bar rooms now. All right. This is, I think, the 6th set. The fact that I've lost track is a good sign. Let's, I don't know, not really much else to say. Let's freaking get into it. Let it go heavy really quick. Two more sets, pretty similar. Whew. That was awesome. Alright, I'm gonna need a little bit of rest after that one. So, not only was it in the plan to freaking kill me today, but to do it with only 3 movements, man, sign me up. That's awesome, because I see the logic behind it. 8 sets for 2 different movements, and both of these movements, lat pull down and T-bar row, chest supported T-bar row, is mainly like T-bar rows for muscle density, and then, or I should say upper to mid back density, and then lat pull downs are mainly, you know, for the width, and then maybe like a little bit of mid back. So you kind of get best of both worlds with that. But yeah, this is pretty freaking nice because I don't have to hop around to each machine. You know, we're usually doing like 4 to 5 movements every back day, but since this one's only 3, you know, you can kind of chill out in between sets and then just kind of get to it. And honestly, it kind of makes sense from like keeping everything simple, because you're not really focusing on, all right, but like it's the same thing with meditation. Like you're basically, you have like one personalized mantra and then you stick with that. Whereas this, it's kind of like, okay, you have like just a few movements. You don't really need a lot, maybe a lot of volume for those few movements, but I mean, you really don't need to get super fancy with it to make considerable progress. So that being said, let's get this last freaking set. And this is going to be more of like a squeezing set than like a heavier set I was doing earlier. So I'm probably going to be pausing at the top and then going just a little bit slower with the movement to get the most out of it. Yeah, we got at least one drop with that. That's freaking good. My back is pretty much as pumped as it can be. Let's go pose. All right, it is now sometime later. We had a little bit of a chat with a friend, so the pump is like a little bit, you know, it's just a little bit less, but it's not too bad. But anyways, this is it's one thing to feel fully pumped, but let's just see how it looks. Oh yeah, sorry about that, man.
I don't want to mess up your thing.
No, you're good, bro. All right, so that's pretty much freaking it for good back day. That was really solid. But it's kind of interesting. We're going to be heading into maybe a contest for springtime, so that might be in the next few months, just to kind of test the waters, see how much progress we've made, because we didn't compete last year, which was kind of interesting. That was the first year in, I want to say about 7 years. So that was kind of interesting, but I just wanted to see not only how much progress we made, but also just where we really need to work, because it's a little tough, you know, just with kind of like a little more fluff than usual to tell where we need to work. So this will kind of be an interesting competition season. So it's more of a check-in rather than, I mean, obviously we're going for the win, but it's more just to see what we look like when we're, you know, peeled like we were. But this time, probably come in definitely bigger, but also more conditioned. So I'm hopefully gonna come in about like 5 to 10 pounds bigger, but we'll have to see once we get there. Anyways, let's get back home and get to the meditation.